Okay.
So what's this, part 14 or part 16 or something of the SEPhERing ALEF-TAV? So the whole reason for talking about this stuff with a bit of an attitude, because if you read the first, here, Isaiah 6, verse 9, back up a little bit. Verse 8, I heard the voice of Adonai, I think it says, yeah, Ve'ashma et kol Adonai, Amer et me. I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and whom shall go for us? There's this vision of this coal being put on his fire, and he said, here I am, send me. He said, go and say to this people, surely you hear, but you don't comprehend. Surely you see, but you fail to know. This people is fattening its heart, hardening its ears, sealing its eyes, lest it see with its eyes, hear with its ears, and understand with its heart, so that it will repent and be healed. And then I asked, how long, my Lord? And he said, until the cities become desolate without an inhabitant, the houses without a person, the land becomes desolate, wasted. And Yahuwah will drive the people far away, and abandonment will be great amid the land. There will be 10 more kings in it, then it shall regress. Now, so there's a prophecy, then it will regress and become barren, like an elm and an oak, which when shedding their leaves still have vitality in them, so will the holy seed be the vitality of the land. It's like, what? He's saying, because of the attitude of this people, all the cities will be annihilated, the people either killed or taken into captivity, and the entire land be destroyed, barren, like the middle of winter, the middle of a drought, and it looks like there's dead trees. There'll still be a little spark of life in the trees, but there'll be no flourishing. But there's still going to be 10 more kings. Well, that's going to take some time. So there might still be a few hundred years of the nation before all that happens. And then in chapter 7, it says, it happened in the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, Rezin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up to wage war against Jerusalem, but he couldn't triumph over it. See, and this is setting up this prophecy about Emmanuel being the name of this child. It's just a sign of timing. Then you go into chapter 8. Yahweh said to me, take a large scroll, he's speaking to Isaiah, write in a clear script, plunder hastens, spoil quickens. It's like, well, that's good news, isn't it? You might as well say tribulation and inquisition. Oh, gosh. Bad days, bad times. So get to verse 5. Yahweh spoke to me further saying, now listen to this. Because this people, he's talking about the people of Israel, because this people has rejected the gently flowing water of the Shiloah and has rejoiced with Rezin and the son of Remaliah. That's the two kings that were the enemies. Therefore, behold, the Lord is bringing upon them, and what says the Lord here, that would be Adonai, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yod, is bringing upon them the mighty and abundant waters of the Euphrates River, the king of Assyria and all his glory, and it will rise above its channels, overflow its banks. So picture the Nile River in flood time, or picture the Mississippi River overflowing the banks, the levees, and flooding New Orleans. It's like the enemy, somebody's mic is open, the enemy, Yahuwah himself is going to fill the enemy with power, with vigor to overflood the entire area, overflow its banks. It'll pass through Judah, flooding as it passes, reaching to the neck, and its wingspread will be the full breadth of your land. O Emmanuel. Wait a minute, what? Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel. So you're going to name this child Emmanuel, having nothing to do with Jesus. And then here's the next place it's used. It will be the full breadth of your land, O Emmanuel. Destroy, O you people, and then be devastated yourselves. Hear this, all you faraway parts of the world. Gird yourselves, and then be shattered. It's like, gear up for war, go to war and be annihilated. Gird yourselves and be shattered. Plan a conspiracy, it will be annulled. Speak your peace, it won't stand, for God is with us. Hey, that's the word Emmanuel again, only it's not translated Emmanuel. The first time it was up in verse 8, but here in verse 10, it's for God is with us. Go down to verse 14. He will be a sanctuary, but also a striking stone and stumbling rock for the two houses of Israel. You know, there's a whole group of people that are called one-housers and another group called two-housers, and they kind of hate each other. They don't agree with each other's doctrines. It says right here, the two houses of Israel. That's Ephraim to the north and Judah to the south. That's Ephraim is Israel, Judah. In Ezekiel 37, it talks about take one stick and the other stick, hold them two in your hand and bring the two back together, the reconfederation of the 12 tribes. So why did people have this big contention about the two houses of Israel? And here in Isaiah, one was fighting in war against the other. And they actually did that for many years, kind of like a civil war. But see, these are the only three places that the word Emmanuel is used in the entire Bible. God is with us. And it seems to me what he's saying is, you guys say that God is with you. Amnu El. But you see, this chapter 8 is based on chapter 7, which is based on chapter 6, based on chapter 5, and based on everything else before that. And what Yahweh says, chapter 5, verse 24. Because they have abhorred the Torah of Yahweh's avot, they have scorned the word of the Kadosh One of Israel, therefore Yahweh's wrath is flared up. And just as the tongue of fire consumes straw, flame destroys the stubble, so will their root become rot and their flower be blown away like dust. The solution of the problem is for us to return to the Torah of Yahuwah. And this song, here I'll read the words. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lowly exile here until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. That's Christian spin, Christian doctrine, like fake news. It is not the terms of the contract deal with Israel. And they're singing in Arabic, come, O Lord of all creation, O you who created the universe, you gave your law first. And today the heavenly host has preached, this is Emmanuel, he has shortened the long path. Now, I don't know where they get that stuff, but they're singing in Arabic. So is that some kind of Islamic doctrine? I don't know. But one for Israel, and Israel is broken up into a few ethnicities, you might say. Isn't there 4 quarters in Jerusalem? You got the Eastern Orthodox, the Catholic, the Jewish, and the Palestinian, I think. Well, let's just pretend it's all one. Sorry, Yahweh ain't one with all that. Yahuwah did give his law, his Torah. Has today the heavenly host preached that this is Emmanuel? He shortened the long path. The long path, he said, was the gamut from Aleph to Tav. Did he shorten that? No. He had to come and walk through every step, including being killed in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, dead and then rising up. There's no shortening of that path. And then he said 2,738 years, or 730 years, 7 times. 390. Ezekiel chapter 4. Leviticus 26. Is there any way to cut it short? Return to the Torah. Returning, for us being Israel and returning to the Torah, to listening to Yahweh's voice, is the only way to do anything, whatever Yeshua accomplished by walking out this path. I'm not saying he didn't affect the status of humanity, of Adam's nature in the great cosmic theater. Adam the first brought death, and Adam the last, Yahusha, restored an opportunity for life. But the covenant deal with Israel is to stop the Elohim Achrim, stop the idolatry. And if you say, well, God is with us, your God's going to bring in the enemy to overflow the entire land and destroy everybody. Is that what you mean by God is with us? That's what he said. So he hasn't shortened the long path that I can see. That sounds poetic, but is it true? Not if you're SEPhERing ALEF-TAV, it's not true. Here, then they sang in English, "O come thou dayspring from on high." Well, that sounds scriptural. "And cheer us by thy drawing nigh." Yahweh says in Isaiah that he's going to come nigh and slaughter everybody because they won't listen to him and do what he says. "Disperse the gloomy clouds of night, and death's dark shadows put to flight." He's bringing death, dark shadows. That's what Isaiah is talking about when he talks about Emmanuel. "Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel." You see, by turning it into a song, it's happy, dappy, flowery, but it's not true. And it's not SEPhERing ALEF-TAV. Then they sang in Hebrew, O come, son of David. In Israel, be governor." Okay. "Raise up your tabernacle from its desolate state." Raise up your tabernacle. The Mishkan, the Ohel. The temple? To raise it up from its fallen state, to let Yahuwah be on the throne, as it were, means his people are listening to his voice and doing what he says. It's not because Jesus is born as a baby in a manger that suddenly everything's good, everything's okay. We have to now do what he said. And he gave us that list in Isaiah chapter 1. Is it 16 and 17? The solution is in verses 16 and 17. It says, "Resh het zadi vav," wash or bathe. Hey Zion Kaf Vav. Well, the word Zion Kaf is pure, clean, successful, worthy, deserving acquittal, and pronounced innocent. Wash or bathe the pronounced innocent. And then the word Hey Samik Yod Resh Vav. Well, Samik Yod Resh means the smell of decay. It also means visit, tour, reconnoiter, or scout out. It's also the word for boat, thorn, which is kind of like an anchor. And then the word resh ayin, which is evil. And then the next word is mem ayin lamed lamed yod kaf mem. Kaf mem is the plural for you. Mem is the prefix, the occasion, the time, the place, and then ayin lamed lamed. What does that mean? Unfaithful, sacrilege, high place, like a place to offer sacrifices or burn incense to false gods. Elohim Achrim. Mem ayin lamed lamed is treachery or perfidy. There was a book called Perfidy You read it, and it was about some guy that was involved with the Israeli government at the very beginning. Then the word mem, nun, gimel, dalet. Well, nagad, nagd, like Ezer Kenegdo, NGD, wife, helpmate, helpmeet. Nun, gimel, dalet means opposed or contrary, or to be put up as an object in your face for you to contend with and have to deal with. And then ayin, ayin yod, nun yod, and then het dalet lamed, which means cease or desist, then hey resh ayin, the evil. So this is verse 16 of Isaiah 1. And this is where he says, this is what does away with. This is the solution to the whole problem of why the enemy is brought in, of why there's a terror or a fear of these two enemies getting together, forming an alliance and coming to siege Israel, siege Jerusalem. Wash or bathe, pronounced innocent, smell of decay, evil. You see, just looking at the Hebrew words doesn't explain it. We have to stick a bunch of other English words in there, or else it won't make any sense. So I'm going to read Isaiah 1:16 the way it's translated in Stones to Knock. Wash yourselves. The word yourselves isn't even there. It's reshket zadi vav, but the word vav, the suffix letter vav, is it or his or theirs. Remember a couple of weeks ago I said I've also seen it meaning you. This is one of the places. Wash yourselves, and then hey zayin kaf vav, purify yourself. Not necessarily what it says. Remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes, cease doing evil. Well, apparently it says there's washing the pure clean, or the washing what's pronounced innocent, or washing, make clean what's worthy of deserving of acquittal. That's what I'm trying to talk about here. If we're saying, if the ALEF-TAV is the one word never translated, if the ALEF-TAV is the one thing that's pure, but nobody knows what it is, how do you identify what is impossible to know? If truth has become so polluted, so distorted, so marginalized, so owned and possessed and interpreted by your own group's favorite doctrine, then how are you to know? How am I to know? How's anybody supposed to know? There's got to be a mechanism of cleansing, of purification. And then there's this word samik yod resh. It doesn't say remove. Visit, tour, reconnoiter, boat, thorn, smell of decay, samik yod resh. See, I don't know where they get these translations, even in Stones to Knock. Remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes. Evil has a stench, a smell of decay. There's just something, you just know there's something dead in here. There's just something wrong. The mem ayin lamed lamed, treachery, perfidy. See, it's real sneaky. And I believe what this is saying to us, it's like, you got to stop, you got to look, you got to listen, you got to reconnoiter. What did Yahweh say? Who is Yahuwah? Is he the same as the priest has been telling us, the pastor, that they dressed up in all these fancy robes, they've got all this gold that they've looted from the poor people around the world, raided their other temples or whatever? I'm not saying they should have left the gold there. I'm just saying it's not about the gold. It's not about the sacrifices. It's not. What's the truth? Mem nun gimel dalet. Put in front of you. Put in front of your eyes. There's no your. But Nagad, Nun Gimel Dalet, is something raised up in front of you to make you deal with it, to talk about the fact that, O come Emmanuel, ransom captive Israel, when the Son of God appears. That's not in the Bible. Might be in the New Testament somewhere, but it's not anywhere in Isaiah. I'll tell you that. Stop. Chet Dalet Lamed. Stop the evil. What's the evil? Resh Ayin is not only evil, it's harm, calamity, wickedness, but it's also friend and companion. When you harm your companion, when you grieve, when you vex, when you take advantage of, when you abuse, when you are not kind or you're not honest with your companion, that's evil. And he said, stop. But you don't stop. And then you come into his courts and you trample on all his stuff in your manly vigor. He hates that. That's what he's saying. To wash and bathe the pure and clean, deserving acquittal. Are you supposed to wash yourself and become pure and clean so that you deserve? And we're told we're all unworthy. None of us deserve acquittal. None of us deserve forgiveness. We just believe and say, thank you for forgiving us. That's Christian doctrine. But what he said is, oh, you're allowed to come to him and ask for forgiveness. Stop doing evil. And if you don't know what evil is, you better figure it out. Verse 2 of chapter 1 of Isaiah, hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for Yahweh has spoken. Children I have raised and exalted, but they rebelled against me. An ox knows its owner, a donkey its master's trough, but Israel does not know, my people does not comprehend. They have forsaken Yahweh, they have angered the Kadosh One of Israel, they turned their back. For what have you been smitten since you continue to act perversely? He can hit you with a 2x4 like the donkey. He can hit you with a whip on your back like the ox, but his people won't even listen. What I'm saying is, for us to now look at his words and try to figure out, what did he say? What does he mean? And how do we do it? How do we do what he said? Let us together, Yahweh Amkam, let us walk together doing what he said. That changes everything. If you go on with chapter 1 here, for what have you been smitten since you act perversely? Each head is sick, each heart with infirmity, from the sole of the foot to the head. Nothing in them is whole. Injury, bruise, festering wound. They have not been treated. They have not been bandaged. The wound has not been softened with oil. Your country is desolate. Your cities burned with fire. As for your land, strangers consume its yield in your presence. It's desolate, overturned by foreigners. The daughter of Zion is left like a booth in a vineyard, like a shed field of like a shed in a field of gourds, like a city besieged. Had not Yahweh Zavot left us a trace of a remnant, where we would have been completely consumed like Sodom and resembled Gomorrah. If you, verse 19, if you are willing and obey, you will eat the goodness of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword. For the mouth of Yahweh has spoken. Kaf Yod, Pei Yud, Yodevav He, Dalet Bet Resh, Ki Pi, or Kaya Paya Yahuwah Dabar. For the mouth of Yahweh Dabar. If you are willing and obey, you will eat the goodness of the land. He didn't say if you believe and if you just say the sinner's prayer. Willing is a state of the heart. Obey It's action. If we're his people, we have to listen to his voice, affect our heart, and do it. And then the land will regrow and we get the benefits of eating what grows on the land. But if you refuse and rebel, so that's again the attitude of the heart, and then the rebelling is the pulling away of opposite actions. You will be devoured by the sword. How the faithful city has become a harlot. She had been full of Mishpat and Zadokah, but now there's murderers. And he said he was going to restore the city to be what it was before. Because people won't rationally line things up. So to Sefer ALEF-TAV, I'm saying, is rationally looking at what's going on and saying, okay, let's do what he said. So you go down to verse Isaiah 52, verse 3. For thus said Yahweh, for nothing you were sold, and without money you will be redeemed. So if we're waiting for Emmanuel to come to us and redeem us, the word redemption is to turn something in and get money back. Well, it's not money. So if Israel's languishing in captivity and exiled and saying, we just got to wait for the Son of God to appear, it's not what he said. He said, you guys stop doing evil and do what I said. Start doing righteousness, Zadokah and Mishpat. Justice. See, Mishpat is the balancing of scales, which means whatever you do is going to come back on you. And so he gave Israel the formula. Do what I said. And so sin is not doing what he said or doing something the opposite of what he said. So if he said, Israel, don't eat certain foods, a strict restriction of your feed bowl. Okay, so for the bride of Christ, the people of God, the church, to have ham on Christmas and Easter, can there be a more blatant offense to continue the curse? Verse 5 of Isaiah 52, were my people taken for nothing? Constantly, all day long, my name is blasphemed. What? Emmanuel, we're pleading Emmanuel. We're the people of God. God is with us. We sing about him on Christmas. All day long, my name is blasphemed. That's what he's saying. How do you blaspheme his name? You look at the meaning of the word blasphemy, and you're saying that either something that's perverse is actually godly, or you're saying that something godly is actually perverse. If he said, my people shall not eat certain foods, and I'm dealing with the fact of the ass stomping, treading, trampling the food bowl, the restriction of the food bowl, that ordinance has been smashed and trampled by the jackasses. It's still going on. Don't eat this stuff if you're my people. I'm kadosh, therefore you're to be kadosh. Leviticus 19. Whatever. How furious does he get? Foaming, like the word for donkey. Isaiah 52:10. Yahweh has bared his kadosh arm. All right, you guys, before the eyes of all the nations, all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. Isaiah 52:10. What's the rest of that context? He's going to bare his arm and he's going to smash his own people first. That's what he's going to do. Oh, he can't tolerate it when his own people won't listen to his voice. How many times does he say you got to sanctify the seventh day, the Sabbath day? And his people, the church, the bride of Christ, said, doesn't matter. He said the Moedim, his choice best treasure, and the church council in Nicaea calls them detestable practices of the Jews. Do you see the discrepancy? I'm trying to illuminate the issue because I spent my life singing the songs and going to church, and there's liturgy, there's memorizing Bible verses, there's loving God with all your heart, only you realize it's not Yahweh Zavot. It's an Elohim Achrim that you're loving. You're loving a figment of somebody else's projection, an imaginary deity dressed up in somebody else's disguise of imaginary, fanciful storytelling. When Yahweh Zavot makes it clear who he is, and we say, that's not our God. We don't want to do what he says. You can sing the song, "Oh, in Israel be governor." He just said he's not going to tolerate it and he's going to destroy the place. That kind of governor? Raise up your tabernacle from its desolate state. He's not going to rebuild the temple. We have to do what he said. What did he say? And so for my friend to say, shut up, I don't want to hear it. I don't want you to tell me anything about what he says, like I'm supposed to read his words and know what they mean. I'm going to believe in Jesus. That's my job, to believe in Jesus. But the job of the ox is to know the line. The job of the ass is to know its owner's stick of restriction and to know what it's allowed to eat and what it's not supposed to eat. But Israel doesn't get it. That's Yahweh's complaint. Israel doesn't get it. So we can choose to get it or not. Isaiah 27:9, therefore, by this shall the iniquity of Jacob be forgiven. And this is all the fruit of taking away his sin. See, now, if I read this translation, this is all the fruit of taking away his sin. What is fruit? Fruit is the evidence of the tree. If Jacob has his sin taken away, then the fruit of that is like, what will it look like once his sin is taken away? But see, I looked through a number of different translations and it says this is the full price. The New American Standard Bible says this is the full price of taking away his sin. What's it going to cost to get Jacob's iniquity forgiven, removed, done away with? That he makes, that's Jacob makes all the stones of the altar as chalk stones that are beaten asunder, so that the Asherim and the sun images arrive no more. And other translations say groves and incense images arise no more. You have to say, what's Asherim? Ashar, Astarte, Easter, Ishtar, fertility goddess celebrations, having to correlated with Easter in the spring. What's the sun images? Well, the cross comes from the shortest day, the longest day, the two equal days, the equinoxes, and it's basically Christmas. And it's like, well, that's my interpretation. It's Easter and Christmas. What's he talking about? You got to figure it out. Well, who cares? Because this is the full price. This is the apparent evidence that Jacob will be forgiven and have his sins taken away. Why didn't Yahweh just say, I'm going to come and pay for his sins by dying on the cross? He didn't say that. That's Christian doctrine. And because if the Jews read Isaiah, then they know darn well he didn't say that he was going to do that. That's why they don't believe Jesus is the Messiah. Do the Christians ever stop and think about that? Let's just sing a beautiful song in different languages. Oh, come, son of David, in Israel, be the governor and raise up your tabernacle. If he's going to come and raise it up, there's going to be a lot of people dying, according to Isaiah. If you look at verses, starting with verse 18 of Isaiah 1, come now, let us reason together. If your sins are like scarlet, if they have become red as crimson, if you are willing to obey, but if you refuse and rebel. This if means there's an alternative. Well, what if our sins are not like scarlet and they're not like crimson? Well, then you have to look at that and say, well, there's other things that the words mean. Verse 19, Tav Aleph Bet Vav, if Tav Aleph, desire, and Vav, Shin Mem Ayin Tav Mem, you hear Tet Vav Bet, good, Haaretz, the earth, Tav Aleph Kaf Lamed Vav. Well, the Aleph Kaf Lamed means eat, food, and devour. This verse 19 in here says, if you are willing and obey, you will eat the goodness of the land. If you are willing and obey. It doesn't say that. It says if, Tav Aleph Bet Vav. Again, the Vav suffix there is translated you. But what's Aleph Bet? Aleph Bet is the word for father, but it's also one who has a desire like a father. It's also youthful verdure, like the word aviv, Aleph Bet Bet, or Aleph Bet Yod Bet, which is springtime. So it's having this, like there was he talked about, we mentioned about the dormant tree, the appeared dead tree, but there's a spark of life that still has the potential to come back. Like in springtime coming out of winter. Like a forest fire goes through and everything looks burned up, but then something will sprout given the right conditions. There's a little bit of water. And you shema. Here believe, good the earth eat. You will eat, Tav Aleph Kaf Lamed Vav. I could say, if you desire to hear good, is that like hearing the truth? It's like, do you have a craving to know the truth, to know how the system works, to know who is Yahuwah, and how the whole thing is put together? The word good is Tet Vav Bet. Tet is this full basket. What's bet? So we spent some weeks talking about the betness versus the alephhness. What's tet? Ket, tet, yod. If ket is this exclusion, this courtyard, in tet like a wedding ring, tet like a basket, yod owning, possessing. You go to a store where you put stuff in a basket, you buy it. Kuf nun hey, like the ox, the shin vav resh. Kuf nun hey, it means to own something because you built it or because you've purchased it, because you buy it. So that to own something because you either built it or buy it, Kuf nun hey, is essentially what tet or tet yod means. How can I say that? How can I say Kuf nun hey has anything to do with that letter tet, the 9th letter, and that the yod, the 10th letter, is a attribute of the tet saying, oh, this is mine. I'm the one who owns what's in this basket. And why is that following the het? So SEPhERing ALEF-TAV means that I can sit here and just look at the word tov and say, what does this mean? The full basket owned by the one who possesses it, Yod, is bet. But the word tov means welfare, benefit, good, that it works. Yahweh built things, and then he looked and he saw that it was tov. It's like the earth was functional. It all worked. Part of the functioning of what he built was the tree with bearing the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And he told Adam, don't eat that. The day you eat that, you're going to die. And when Adam ate it, he died. Something happened. It brought death. It was functioning tovely. The tree, the fruit of the tree did exactly what Yahweh planned for it to do. But then he also provided a remedy. For us to sit here and say, we struggle with knowing what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. Is this truth? Is this fiction? Well, that's our dilemma. That's just what he's imposed upon us because of Adam taking a bite of that fruit. And there's a certain angst, a certain disturbance that comes with the death, I believe. The fact that it drives people crazy, the fact that there's 80,000 Protestant denominations, plus the Catholic and Orthodox and Jewish and Hindu and Buddhist and on, that's part of the aggravation. But the remedy is to SEPhER ALEF-TAV. In the keel of the boat, you might say, is Yeshua running this course, proving that this 22-letter sequence is the truth. So for Yeshua to come down here and say at John 17, is there no other way to do this? I don't want to go through with this thing. I know how bad it's going to be. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours, Father. It just help me do what I have to do. And he went through with it. To make this happen, he mentioned before, there's this concept of running a software program and finalizing it. And you can do it, but until you hit the finalize button, it's not there. Him doing this, going through the crucifixion and resurrection, brought this to a state of gelling, of finalization. To see that, the Jews can't see it. They don't believe in him. Christians refuse to acknowledge anything about the law. They just invent their own stuff and run with it and sing songs about it and think that everybody's supposed to go along with it. And it's like, go along with what? Who is Yahweh's vote? What does it mean to be his people? How do we be his people? What do we do? And you have to have a heart for doing it and then do it. You have to have a heart for doing it. Doing what? What he said. So to realize that, to say, I want to be his people, that's het tet yod. What did he say is kaf lamed? Having a heart for it is mem nun. Then go ahead and do it is samek ayin pei. Tree bearing fruit, and you eat the fruit. Whatever you do is going to come back on you. Man's way is returned on his own head. That's eating your fruit. And the hope set before you, the Zadi, the resurrection, there's more to this life than there appears. To say that my people does not know, my people does not comprehend, Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3, I don't believe is a statement of This is what it is and can never be rectified, can never be changed. It's a status of saying, my people are such idiots. Which he said before, my people are foolish, my people are stupid. We don't have to be. That's not a condition that we're locked into. If we choose to understand, if we choose to say, what does he want me to understand, even if it goes against the doctrine, even if it goes against the holidays of the season, even though it goes against the beautiful songs, what did he say? What am I supposed to do? I can choose to understand. I was told, I was talking to this one friend, and he said, I was trying to say, there's this word in John 1 by which everything was made. Well, the word would have to be so mysterious that nobody can comprehend it. Unless, and my point, that's what he said, and my point was like, unless part of the nature of the word was that we can comprehend it. The word would be so powerful, it's like trying to put something, pounds of pressure in a little glass bottle, the bottle would break. Unless it was designed to not break the bottle. Human consciousness being that bottle. No, we can't know it. You're inventing the quality attributes of the word that says you can't deal with it and you can't know it. I'm saying the word would have to be such that it's exactly what we're supposed to deal with. We can know it. We can do it. That's the nature of the word. Now, in my estimation, I'm going to invent the quality attributes of the word that it's impossible to reckon with, and I don't have to. See, to me, that's like you're going to invent your own God, you're going to invent your own laws, and you're going to invent your own doctrines that say that you don't have to do anything because all that other stuff is too difficult. Why would you invent that? If you're going to invent a God, why don't you make him wonderful and beautiful and something that you can do? Well, that's kind of what Jesus is. Beautiful, wonderful. We don't have to do anything. We can do everything. It's like, what did he say? Who's Yahweh Zephot? And if Yeshua is Yahuwah, like we were saying last week, what does that mean? Then that means all these attitudes that Yahweh has in Isaiah are the very attitudes Yeshua has. And for somebody to say, no, Jesus Christ, meek and mild, little baby in a manger, he would never do anything to harm his people. Yeah. Look at the furious wrath. He's going to bring the enemy to overflood and just destroy plants, animals, land, people, cities. Is that him? The same little baby? Think about that. The same little baby is the guy that says, I'm fiercely mad and this is what I'm going to do. It's just kind of a wake up of like, what does it mean to be his people? Here, chapter 1, 24. Therefore, the word of Adonai Yahweh Zephot, mighty one of Israel. That's the Abir, Aleph Bet Yod Resh, Israel. The mighty, the champion. It's kind of like a synonym with El Shaddai. Oh, I shall be relieved of my adversaries, and I shall avenge myself of my enemies. I will turn my hand against you. Again, he's talking to Israel. Until I refine your dross as with lye. See, that's the washing and bathing. And I remove all your base metal. That's like putting silver and gold and refining and getting off all the crud that's not pure silver and pure gold. Then I will restore your judges as at first, and your counselors as at the beginning. Then you'll be called city of faithfulness, city of righteousness. Zion will be redeemed through justice. That's mishpat. And those who return to her through righteousness. If Zion is redeemed through Mishpat, that's the balancing of scales. That means whatever you do comes back. And if you want to be redeemed or made clean, you behave clean, and then it's clean. It's not different stuff. It's the same stuff. My point is, if you understand the SEPhERing of ALEF-TAV, if you understand what did he build, who is he, what is his kingdom, what does he demand of his people, once you know that, it's the mechanics, it's the mathematics, it's the physics, not just of his kingdom, but of the entire universe. That's the stuff David wanted to see in Psalm 119. And when he says, open my eyes that I can perceive what's in your Torah. See, this stuff in Isaiah came about 500 years or so after David. We read this before, but chapter 2, verse 6, for you have abandoned your people, the house of Jacob. But see, the Christian thing is, God will never forsake you, never abandon you, never turn away from you. He will always hear your prayer. His face is always looking for you with care and affection. That's not Yahweh Zavot then. Oh, it makes for nice songs, but it's not Yahuwah Zavot. The Christian God that I learned about, that we sing about, is not Yahuwah Zavot. But in chapter 2, as I mentioned earlier, verse 11 and verse 17, Yahweh alone will be exalted on that day, and the false gods perish completely. That means the Christian ideology of an Elohim Achrim must cease and disappear and be annihilated from the face of the earth. That's what's coming. Has it happened yet? No. Well, then this can't be the end of the world. Isaiah chapter 2 hasn't happened yet. Yahweh alone will be exalted on that day. And even if they say, Emmanuel, God is with us, it's not Yahweh Zavot. They refuse to acknowledge him. If they did acknowledge him, they would stop working on the Sabbath day. They would quit eating pork, ham, bacon, link sausage. Verse 20, on that day, man will throw away his false gods of silver, his false gods of gold, as they have made for him to prostrate himself to moles and bats. What? To enter the cliffs of rocks and the cracks of the crags, because of the fear of Yahweh and the glory of his greatness, when he arises to break the land. Yahweh's going to arise to break the land. I mean, when is this him bearing his arm against his own people? See, the point is, there's time right now for everyone to turn to Yahuwah. The question is, who is he? His testimonies, the word ayin dalet, or memvav ayin dalet, testify of who he is. And we're told in Leviticus 23, we have the Moedim, Passover, unleavened bread, the counting of 50, Shavuot, day of blowing of trumpets, day of atonement, the week of tabernacles, and Shemini Atzeret, the Sabbath day. Those are the testimonies of Yahweh Zavot that he gave to his people Israel and said, you must Keep these, guard these throughout all your generations forever. And if we don't start there, if we don't start with his name, his day, his Moedim, we haven't even started. If we don't start, there's the line of the ox. Here's the line. These things are of the kingdom. On the other side of the line, these things are not of the kingdom. There's this line, you might say, between Zion and Het. Het is a fence, Zion is a weapon, a cutting off, like the moat around the castle. Which side of the line? Are you going to dance on the line? Are you going to wrestle and contend? The same word for ox, Shin Vav Res? Shin Vav Resh? Or do you just say, look, I want to be his people. What do I have to do? Just tell me what to do. I just want to be your people, Yahweh. Just before you break the land, will you break my heart? Will you break my heart so I will be your people? Amnu El, be with us, Elohim. If there's anything we've done to offend you, bring it to our attention so we can drop it. Forgive us, cleanse us. We want to be your people. Thank you for Yeshua. Thank you that he will show us the way, that he has come and did what he did. Thank you that you're willing to turn your wrath from us, and that when we turn to you, whatever your wrath is will go against your adversaries, our enemies. Save us, Yahweh. We are your people. Show us how to live. Show us what you want us to do. Protect us, save us, defend us. Let us rejoice in you. Let us all collect with one another under the banner, Yahweh Nissi. You are our overshadowing protection. Those who are under the Torah are under a curse. Is that what it says? Or is it to say that those who stand under the Torah are under your shadowing protection while the curse is raining down? If you want us to keep your Torah, give us a heart. We choose to keep your Torah. Show us how to do it. Help us do it. Help us recognize the falsehood and the lies and the distortions of those who say Emmanuel but are far from you in their hearts. Let us see the distinction. Please help us recognize the truth of ALEF-TAV in contrast to every other Elohim Achrim, so that every breath we take will be with you and not against you. Make it so, Yahweh. Amen. B'Shem Yeshua. B'Shem Yahuwah. Toda Yoah. Hodu la Yoah ki tov ki leolam chazdo.